So, evidently, somebody snuck the moon in just a few thousands of years ago, because it couldn't be any older than that. There's not enough dust on there, according to their calculations. You check that report out and tell me if you think I'm mathematically wrong. Then, what about comets? The existence of comets supports a recently created universe. Comets circle the Earth, circle the Sun, and are assumed to be as old as our solar system. Since they are continually disintegrating and a number are known to have broken up, evidently all of them self-destruct within a relatively short period of time. Because humans apparently have only been on this Earth, I don't know, thousands of years, not a very short time. And if these comets take a long time to break up, and they see the comet, and then they don't see it anymore, it's broken up because it goes around the sun. And it's right there because the sun hasn't moved as far as our position around it is concerned. It is estimated that comets cannot be over 10,000 years old. Comet water. Comets are primarily composed of water, a little bit of dust. So many small comets strike the Earth that if our planet was billions of years old, our oceans would be filled several times over with water. Where did the water go? The origin and age of comets is even more obscure than that of meteorites. Fred Whipple, who has contributed more to the theory of cometary phenomena than most of other astronomers, modern astronomers, says we are still left quite in the dark as to the ultimate origin of comets. Where was the factory in which they were made located? Once you consider plausibility of an intelligent designer. Where was the factory in which they were made located? And when did the sun acquire this magnificent assemblage of quite trivial bodies whose combined total mass, in spite of their vast extent, is probably less than that of the Earth? Vast numbers. Where did they all come from? We don't know. Then why do you have proposed theories? You don't have enough information to even propose a guesstimate of what you think there are and where they came from. The interesting thing Fred Whipple says is about the comets is that they seem to be disintegrating continuously. A number of them have broken up and dissipated within a period of human observation. Wow. Evidently, all of the known comets that can be expected to break up and vanish within a time which is geologically very short. Fred Hoyle notes this. It has been estimated that the breakup of many comets is taking place at such a rate that they will be entirely disrupted within 1 million years. It is an immediate inference that these comets cannot have been moving around the sun as they are at present for much longer than 1 million years, since otherwise they would have already have been broken up. He goes, 1 million. How about 10,000 years? Fred Hoyle. Since comets are very definitely a part of the solar system, the natural inference would be that the maximum age of the solar system, the two having come into existence at approximately the same time. Evidently not. Hoyle avoids this by assuming that the comets did not begin their breaking up until less than 1 million years ago. We know so little about it. Why are you guessing this stuff? Because they don't have any answers. Whipple and most others avoid this conclusion by assuming that there is a gigantic reservoir of hibernating comets far out on the edges of the solar gravitational field, almost to the nearest stars. Yeah, you should have been a comic book writer. There is not the slightest observational basis for this strange theory, or as Whipple pointed out, any acceptable theory as to the origin of this hypothetical swarm of hibernating comets. Its only rationale is the need for some escape from their apparent cometary testimony to the youthfulness of the solar system. Dr. Don Patton says, look at the comets, which are very ephemeral objects, almost nothing. We see some organization of matter in the form of comets, and we see them coming apart. Notice the statement by Fred Whipple, director of the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory, in his book, The Mystery of Comets. He says comets tend to split in pieces, particularly when they are near the Sun or Jupiter, but also when they are quite undisturbed in space. Some comets seem to tire out and die. He goes on to say, obviously, this is not an onward and upward process. This is a deteriorative process, a degenerative process. This is what we see, and of course, This is what the second law of thermodynamics says. That things tend to degenerate, run down. This is what we observe in our life. And when we look in the universe around us, that's all we see. In fact, comets are deteriorating so rapidly that it becomes a significant problem for evolutionists trying to explain them. Notice the estimates here of various astronomers, authorities who have estimated the life, at least, of the short-period comets, which are the only ones we have multiple observations of. Littleton of Cambridge says maximum 10,000 years. He says they'll all be gone in 10,000 years, the short-period comets. Russian astronomer Veskyavchuk or whatever, they'll all be gone in 33,000 years. And Ferb Whipple says that they can only survive 200 orbits. The average orbit is 7 years times 200. And we're only talking about 1,400 years. So that's about half of what the Russians said. Schwinn says a maximum of 25,000 years. What, are they just playing poker or something? They're saying this because they see them come apart. Fred Hoyle, a famous astronomer in England, says that they'll all be gone, and he includes the long period of comets in 1,000,000 years. But they're supposed to have been here some 20 billion years. Guys, they're throwing stuff around like ridiculous. Back to Genesis. Dr. Henry Morris. The comets orbiting the sun present another problem. These bodies lose considerable mass at every pass around the sun. They cannot survive many orbits and thus cannot be very old. To get around this problem, evolutionists assume there is a vast cloud of hibernating comets near the edge of the solar system. Wonderful, wonderful. Oops. Which releases new comets every so often. Oh, you know, how much investigation did you do with this? This imaginary cloud is called the Oort cloud, named after the astronomer who proposed it. They look for stuff, if they don't find it, they'll invent it anyway. The problem is that there is no observational evidence such a cloud exists at all. How do you get to be scientific? Scientists announce these things, but there's no evidence to back it. We have actually seen the Oort cloud, he says. Seen, I put in quotation marks. We infer, the existence and properties of the Oort cloud from the steady trickle of long-period comets into the planetary system. Isn't that wonderful? And they claim that we creationists are a bunch of imaginary people. In any case, so much for that. Let's see if we have anything more to offer. Scriptural testimony and physical evidence from the earth testifying to recent creation. Uniformitarianism, you know what that is? That's the way we observe things today is the way they've always been. They rejected the biblical testimony of deterioration and catastrophe and all the geological implications thereof, and accept instead the philosophy of evolutionary naturalism, built their system of historical geology, under a foundation of sand. The result is what Dr. Allen called the present deplorable state of our discipline. So, that's a whole new story. I think we've investigated enough and developed enough ammunition so when people who are not any better informed than I am about evolution versus creation, I have some answers, just observing the universe.